Welcome to K-Drama Recaps, your one-stop shop for all things K-Drama. If you're new around here, just a heads up, spoilers ahead. With that out of the way, Episode 4 opens up with a tense scene between Kohansu and Isak. Both men are getting fitted for a suit, and at one point, Ko offers to pay for Isak's new suit, which Isak refuses. There is even a bit of foreshadowing where Isak tells Ko that his son will one day inherit his suit, not knowing that the son he's referring to is the man who he's talking to. In the next scene, we see Isak, Sunja, and her mother at the church. Pastor Shin does not take the news of Isak's plan to marry Sunja very well, let alone taking on the child as his own. However, he eventually gives in and marries the two by praying over them. Following this, we see a heartbreaking scene where Yangjin, Sunja's mother, goes to the rice dealer to get some white rice for Sunja and Isak's wedding meal. White rice was reserved only for Japanese patrons, so initially the dealer refuses to sell any to Yangjin. When she tells him that Sunja is moving to Osaka and that all Yangjin wants to do is send off her only daughter with a taste of her country's rice, he gives in and gives her enough for 3 bowls of rice. The following scene is a heart-wrenching one, as we see Yangjin carefully and lovingly washing and cooking the rice that is forbidden by their Japanese oppressors. Granny Sunja is packing for a trip back to her motherland. We are treated to a series of jump cuts between Granny Sunja and young Sunja preparing for her own trip to Osaka. Back in the young Sunja timeline, Kohansu corners Sunja and asks her to reconsider. Sunja refuses, and Ko continues to berate her, telling her that when she gets to Osaka and is lost and alone, he will pretend like he never knew her. She is on her own now. Isak, Sunja, and her mother Yangjin arrive at the port. Sunja and her mother share a final conversation as Isak is trying to get their paperwork in order. Yangjin tries to give her daughter 2 gold rings she inherited from her own mother-in-law. She tells her daughter to keep it just in case of emergencies. When Sunja reveals the gold watch she was given by Kohansu, Yangjin is taken aback when she realizes this and advises Sunja to forget about him as she makes a new life with Isak. The bells ring and Sunja weeps as she says her goodbye to her mother, not sure if she will ever see her again. Back in 1989, Solomon and Naomi talk about the current hotel deal and start to make small talk. They discuss Solomon's background as the son of a pachinko parlor owner, as well as Naomi's goal to rise to the top of Shifley's. She shares the fact that her parents did not approve of her choosing this line of work. It seems both Solomon as well as Naomi have both secret burdens that go unspoken. Han Kumja, the Korean landowner holding up the hotel deal, marches into the meeting room at Shifley's ready to sign the documents to sell her property. Tom Andrews and the rest of the Shifley crew are clearly excited to close out this deal, but Kumja is strangely quiet. Despite her having seen a copy of the contract before, she doesn't trust the Japanese as far as she can throw them, so she puts on her reading glasses and pores over the contract one last time to make sure she's not getting swindled. While Kumja is reading, Solomon remarks that his own grandmother is heading back to Korea for the first time in 50 years, which prompts Kumja to reflect on her own past experiences and the horrific ordeal her countrymen suffered at the hands of the Japanese. It turns out her father worked in the mines of Chikuho under horrendous conditions, and when all the workers went on strike, they were all subsequently fired. As Kumja continues to tell her story of Koreans being called cockroaches and less than human by the Japanese, a slack-jawed Solomon listens in silence as it finally dawns on him why Kumja has been so reluctant to sell her home. When Kumja asks him what he would advise his own grandmother, he tells her the truth. He would tell her not to sign the contract. To the horror of Tom Andrews and Abe-san, Kumja packs up her things and leaves without signing the contract. The room is in turmoil as no one can believe what just happened. Abe-san turns to Solomon and tells him that people like him should never have been allowed to be a part of their organization, referring to Solomon's Korean heritage. Solomon staggers out of the building that turns into a mad dash in the rain. He stops in front of some musicians busking in the street and starts to dance without abandon. Naomi watches from afar with a faint smile on her lips. We cut back to Granny Sunja, who arrives in Korea, marveling at how her hometown has changed. She asks a taxi to stop and dashes out and into the bay, sobbing as she stands in the same water of her youth. If you enjoyed this episode of K-Drama Recaps, press that like button and subscribe to our channel as this helps our content get out to more eyeballs. Is there a Korean drama that you'd like us to recap? Let us know in the comments below and hopefully we can cover that drama in future videos. See you in the next episode.